And politely end your conversations now. My name is Landon George. Y'all give it up for Mark Yaffe one more time. I'm coming up from Marshall, North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you some stories, play some music, hang out, enjoy your beverages. This first story comes from a guy that used to run this hardware store down there in downtown Marshall, and it's called Stag Paint. At least that was a big sign they had up there on the front of it. And the store is not a store no more because a big old flood came through. Everybody knows about Hurricane Helene probably. Marshall's sandwiched between the mountains, and it's the river right there. And that water just kept rising, and it just kept rising, and it kept rising. And the guy at Stag Paint said, "Gosh, I really need to move all this paint upstairs." So he started getting those buckets of paint, gallon buckets, and that water was just rising by the hour. And then by the half hour. And he got about 87 buckets of paint up there and 16 buckets of varnish and 12 buckets of primer up to the top level. And that water just kept rising. Every half hour, another foot. Back start hurting. Gosh, that's like 118 gallons of paint and varnish and primer up the 2 flights of stairs where they used to have coffins displayed up there at Stag Hardware, because it was a funeral home before it was Stag Paint and Hardware, where I'd go down and buy nylon rope so that I could tie it onto a chicken cage and throw it in deep water trestle and try to catch those elusive cookie cutter mouth type fish that they got down there in Deepwater Trestle. And he just kept carrying that paint and primer up there, and the water kept coming every 15 minutes. Getting higher and higher and higher, and that back started hurting. Man, he was up there where they used to keep the coffins. Now, the interesting thing about the coffins is that there was a mirror on the inside of Stag Paint and Hardware that showed the coffin. So you could stand outside down on the street and look into the coffin without going into the building. Drive by, pay your respects type. That water kept rising, man. He couldn't get all the paint and primer. He couldn't. Finally, he was up there, and he had just about 218 gallons of paint, primer, and varnish, and he had about 187 meters left of nylon rope, the kind that I would tie onto an old chicken crate to try to get those funny fish out of Deepwater Trestle. He said, "Mother Nature bats last." Thank you. Who's been to a water park? Show of hands. Y'all are disgusting. This water park, however, is the nastiest of them all. At least in the South. The nastiest of them all in the Midwest is called Noah's Ark, and it's up in Wisconsin. It's nasty because it's biblical themed. But also because water parks are just kind of gross, swimming around in all that funk and gunk. But this water park I'm talking about is in Middle Tennessee. When you're from Tennessee, you say which part you're from. East, Middle, and West. Knoxville, Nashville, and Memphis. Well, I was from Middle Tennessee. And the capital used to be Murfreesboro, way before any of us were born and bred. And they got this water park outside of Murfreesboro. It's actually not even close to Murfreesboro, it's in Donaldson. And that's kind of where I spent some early years of my life. My mom was a lifeguard for a long time as a kid, saving people's life and stuff. She was sick at that job. And she was really hot when she was young. It's okay, I can say that. So she was a lifeguard up there at Nashville Shores on the banks of the Percy Priest Lake. J. Percy Priest Lake is blocked up by J. Percy Priest Dam. Another wonderful accomplishment by the Tennessee Valley Authority. A cheers to them, please. Woo! Hydroelectric energy for all. She worked up there at the lake as a lifeguard at the Lake Water Park, Nashville Shores. And then there was they had this big old boat that used to go across the lake, and you could start on one side of the lake and come to the other side. You could start outside of the water park and end your day in the water park. I want that to sink in. The guy that drove that boat, his name was Ty Key. 2-syllable name. That spells trouble. You know where the story's going. My mom looked so awesome out there saving lives of people that got up in the lake and they didn't know that the lake was made of water and that they could not swim. Drowning's not that funny, but the context I framed it in was. Ty Key took a keen eye to my mother. He wanted to date her. I was into the concept because Ty Key, with his 2-syllable name, he could get free tickets to the shows that they had at Nashville Shores on the Percy Priest stage. I think you know where this is going. Interested in music, especially reggae music. Don't be confused, this is not a reggae beat. This is a reggae beat. reggae music because the kick drum falls on all the beats. And I would listen to every Bob Marley and Peter Tosh CD I could check out of the library after work as a lifeguard with my mom at Nashville Shores. There was a very important artist coming to the J. Percy Priest stage at Nashville Shores. The Baja Men. You might know them by their hit, Who Let the Dogs Out? Well, Ty Key said he could get us some tickets. I kind of brightened up to him. He even had a kid my age, about 7. I think I was like 6, but he was a nice kid. They also had a little sister, probably 4, judging by the car seat that she sat in the back of his truck. And I was riding in the back of that truck with Ty Key and his son and the little sister. And the son leaned next to me. And the windows were down, so I couldn't really hear much, but I could hear this. He said, "My dad lets me do this." He proceeded to open up a water bottle. I think it was a Dasani bottle. The windows were down, as I mentioned before. And he stuck his arm out the window with the water bottle open, and he let water out all over the interstate, 40 East. And the water rained back in because it was a lot of wind. And I felt the water on my skin and heard the little sister screaming because she got wet because of the water bottle. And Ty Key didn't say anything. He was busy driving. And all I remember was the way that cool water felt on my skin on the way to the Baja Men concert at the J. Percy Priest Dam stage. We met my mom there that night. And they did play Who Let the Dogs Out. Thank you. Growing up in Middle Tennessee, you get exposed to a lot of music. Really being near Nashville, in proximity. So every time I tell people I'm from Middle Tennessee, 40 miles east of Nashville, they always say, "Oh, that makes sense." And I wish they could see me now. I don't think it makes too much sense.
Down this lane, it's loaded to flying pizza!
It's Nicholas.
Listen. There's got in them myself, just like witches after black myself. So I think this is me, so JD. Alright, man. Wouldn't it be cool, man, if you like went to a real old bookstores looking at things and found a book? I mean, not to worship black magic or anything, you just found a book about it. Who found a book like that? Just read some of the spells or something, man. Wouldn't that be killing, man? Like if you could learn how to fire, if you could learn, I mean, you wouldn't practice spells because I'd be worshiping Satan or something. But if you could learn how to light fires and stuff, just play with your eyelash. Man, yeah, y'all be truthful, man. Hey, but I got something fancy. mean, like a real crazy one, not like with some cheap sex in the bar or something. Like, I'll tell y'all, when I always, yeah, like, I've always wanted to be Iceman. Have you ever watched one of the cartoons in the morning? I've always wanted, I would dream about that stuff. It's like that, you know?
I have always wanted to fly.
You have? I have too. When you were little, you used to run out and go, whoosh, I can't land on your face.
I like to use to jump off porches, man.
That is my super fantasy. I told you about some of the stuff we did when we were little, right? Like jumping off the second story and stuff.
Okay. We were going to the Grands. On our way to the Grands race in Louisville. I was with the Angevines in their van. Miss Angevine was wild, and we played ZZ Top the whole time. And all I could remember was her in the front seat jamming out the whole night. We played ZZ Top tape about 8 times that whole night long. You know how you are when you're half asleep?
Yeah.
That's how I was, and I can remember every bit of it. I can remember looking out the window and seeing everything. I remember it all totally detailed. And I was just seeing Miss Angevine sitting there jamming out. And Lee and Miss Angevine's son, Tim Angevine, were just sitting there sleeping. Like it's, and then that day, in the mains, which is the final race trail for it all, once it finally all illuminated, all I can remember was, got me under pressure. That whole song, that's all I can remember. When I try to remember something that I did in the race, it couldn't stand it. And my dream is, and my fantasy is, you know, just to have all this energy and have like a stereo inside my head. And yet have loud speakers. Just play ZZ Top the whole time. That's all. And nothing. Just keep going fast, man. Take all these jumps, go everywhere. It's full speed and never stop.
But this would sound but
That's what we're
no, I mean, this really sounds good.
Thank you. Can girl, you're a long way out there. Sure do appreciate it. That tune comes out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Old tune. I think the guy that maybe wrote it was a piece of shit. So I don't even remember his name. It's called Candy Girl, though. I always love the holidays because there's a lot of really good food involved and a lot of good sweets, too. Who had a good gingerbread cookie from Danny? Okay. Everybody should have one before you leave. It's not a threat, but my stepmom makes this stuff called Christmas crack. It's a terrible name for a sweet, but it's like, I think it's like saltine crackers and Ghirardelli dark chocolate 60%. You know, I'm going with this, walnuts on the top, frozen. And then my sweet wife made something similar, but with graham crackers and better ingredients and love. And I said, man, this is the best Christmas crack I've ever had. She was like, it's not called that. Kind of like that guy, though, from Middle Tennessee that wrote Candy Girl. I can't remember the name of what the actual dessert is called. That's okay, though, because I love it very dearly. And some things that you love, it doesn't matter what they're called. Thank you. I'm going to play a tune that comes from Roan Mountain, Tennessee, just around the corner. It's called Cluck Old Hen, but this is the version done by the Birchfields. The Birchfields are a really wonderful musical family that lives up there. I'll try my best. Chicken in that song. was a cover. I really wanted a corn snake as a kid, more than anything else. I wanted a corn snake as a kid because they kind of reminded me of the devil. Just a little bit. Just the devil, just a little bit. They look so pretty. And I was thinking about a corn snake crawling on my arm, and I could feel it crawling on my arm, and the corn snake was on my arm. And then it wasn't, because we didn't get a corn snake, because you can't have a snake in my house. Not right now. We don't want a snake in the house. Snakes are reptiles. We don't need no snakes in this house right here. Why don't you get something different? How about a mouse? A mouse would be good. Mice are fine. But we got mice already in the house, so you don't need a pet mouse. Go over to your buddy Andre's house. See what he's got. He's got pets. His granny lets him have pets. His granny's got an open mind. His granny's got an open mind. Go over to Andre's house and see his pets. See what kind of pets he's got in a fish tank, in a reptile cage, in a little pen with a playpen, You got all these little pine shavings in there running around. What kind of pets does Andre got? Go get an idea for a pet that you might want over at Andre's house. His grandma's got an open mind. Head on over there to Andre's house, ride your skateboard. You can go skateboard together after you go to Andre's house and see what he's got. What has he got over there? He's got a chinchilla, a 19-pound chinchilla. Chinchillas don't get that big. 19 pounds is really big for a chinchilla. 19 hashtag, 19-pound symbol. A 19-pound chinchilla in Andre's house in the playpen. Right there with the pine shavings, the piss, and the urine, and the ammonia smell. That's all right. That's okay. That chinchilla could get a little bit more exercise. But his granny's got an open mind. Go over there, pet that chinchilla. You ever felt a chinchilla? They come from Chile. They come from Argentina. They come from South America. Go over to Andre's house. Touch that chinchilla. Feel the air in your hands. There's 20 strands of hair that come out of one strand of hair of chinchilla. They are on the endangered species list, but this is a domesticated 19-pound chinchilla. Let me get a hallelujah for the chinchilla. Hallelujah. Chinchilla. Go see Andre's chinchilla. He's got one. He ain't got no corn snake. You don't need no corn snake. We still took you to PetSmart. The corn snake bit you a little bit. You didn't like that, did you? You didn't want that. Corn snake's got them sharp teeth. Chinchilla's got that soft fur. Feel the fur of the chinchilla. Come on down and get this chinchilla. I need to sell a 19-pound chinchilla. Let me get a $1 chinchilla, $1 chinchilla, $1 chinchilla. Here, let me get a $16 for the chinchilla. Here. Okay, $17. 19-pound chinchilla for $17. Did I get it here? Here we go, right here. His granny's got an open mind. Lord have mercy. Go on down and see that chinchilla that Andre's got down there. Instead of play, Peter's got pine shavings. It smells like piss and ammonia and shit. It don't matter. Thank you. Probably should play bass while I tell the story. What you just heard was what they call it recitation. I did that recitation because the other day I heard a real good one. But it was about shortening bread. I don't know enough about shortening bread to give a recitation on shortening bread. But by God, I know a thing or two about them chinchillas my buddy had. I heard this recitation on a CD-ROM. It was done by a man named Riley Boggess. Now, Riley Boggess is a great banjo maker that lives right here in North Carolina. He's a very nice guy and he builds wonderful instruments. I was not at Riley Boggess' house listening to Riley Boggess on CD-ROM. However, I was at his dear friend's house, Ira Bernstein. And it wasn't really his house, it was an apartment that he's living in. He's living in assisted living. He's got Parkinson's, really bad, late stage Parkinson's. He's had it since I've known him. I met Ira because he needed a ride up to West Virginia to the Fiddlers Convention. And I said, sure, I'll give you a ride. We talked, I learned a lot about He was a tap dancer for most of his life, and he put money on the table and raised a family on his tap dancing money. I think his company was called 10 Toes Rhythm, and he would dance clogging, tap dancing, jazz tap dancing, flat foot, no taps on the shoes. He would do it all. Celtic dancing, river dance. And then he got diagnosed with Parkinson's. You can't control your muscles that well when you have Parkinson's. But I was giving him a ride, and then he asked me if I wanted to do some trim carpentry work when we got home. Well, I needed money, so I said, yeah. And the next couple months was me going over to this rental property of Ira's and cutting shoe mold and staying in shoe mold in a basement with no ventilation and getting kind of high off the fumes and running upstairs with a finishing nailer and handing him these cut pieces and him teaching me what a miter was and how I was doing it all wrong. And then you actually got to cut it on like a 46-degree angle rather than a 45 to get it snug, fit nice in there. And sometimes he would fall over because the Parkinson's was so damn bad. And he would scream. He'd say, "Fuck." And I'd run upstairs and I'd say, "You okay?" He'd say, "Yeah, let me get up." He didn't want help getting up. And one time he fell so hard on his knees, he said, "Just cut off these fucking legs." And I said, "Well, we do have the skill saw plugged in." He loved that cruel reality. He loved making jokes about the cruelness of reality. We live in a cruel reality. We live in a beautiful world too, don't get me wrong, but there's so much cruelty. So much cruelness. If we don't make jokes about it, we forget that we're human. I think Ira knows how important it is to remember that we just have these physical facilities, that we are human. And the other day I went over to his house and I listened to Riley Boggess give a recitation on shortening bread. Said, "Tune my fiddle." So I tuned it. I said, "What do you want it in?" He said, "Double A." That's A-E, A-E. And he proceeded to play me a tune called "A Tear for Honey." Honey was a tap dancer. And he wrote this tune, and he's not been able to really control his arms and legs that much for a while, but he played the shit out of that tune for a guy with Parkinson's, for a guy with late-stage Parkinson's. And he tried to call me on the way here today. We were up near Blowing Rock and on the switchbacks, and I couldn't really get his call to come through. But I answered, and he said something about getting a ride or getting some plywood or something. He's still trying to get plywood even though he lives in an assisted living apartment building. Gotta admire that spirit. Gotta admire that human spirit. Thank you. Got time for just one more. This is a tune that I wrote when I was down in Florida. My mom used to live in St. Petersburg, and I really wanted to have a crawfish boil closer to Louisiana and Florida than you are in North Carolina. And I boiled all this crawfish and potatoes and corn. and I ate it all by myself. Because no one was brave enough to suck the heads of the crawfish or didn't want to learn. And in that moment, I realized, if you're not boiling crawfish out of pure love, what are you doing? So this is a tune called Low Country Boil Alone. And it's just a reminder that before we can make others happy, we have to make ourselves happy. Thank you. Big thank you to Rob Hook, Jason, Alan, Landon. Thanks so much to Mark. It's really cold, so make sure that you drive with both headlights on.